people think renting is wasting money.
Yep.
The logic goes, well, if my rent is $2,000 a month, my mortgage is only going to be £2,000 a month. So we might as well buy a house because then we get to keep the asset.
So as a self-made multimillionaire in real estate investing, I'm gonna give you my take on this, and it might surprise you. Owning your own home is the smarter choice if you're in the middle class and the lower class. But then you're responsible for fixing things when things break. For example, this pool pump just went and I had to pay for that. That was like 2,000 bucks after I already bought one 2 years ago. That's a whole other story. The AC and the air handler went, that was $8,000. I gotta fix these trees once in a while as all these things keep racking up. But if it's your home, it's gonna pay off maybe eventually if you hold it for like 10 years.
Welcome back to the channel. Should you rent or should you buy? The gentleman is saying if you're in the lower or middle class, you should potentially buy a home. We're going to delve into the points that he's making to see if he's correct. Let's go. I want to take a few minutes to address the income classes that he mentioned. We're going to look at this article from the resource generation.org. I'll put the link in the description so you could go deeply into it. The working class, so your life experience will be marked by these criteria, but the first one, housing is sometimes unstable. These folks rent housing, or in the cases if they own a home, the majority of the asset and potential for wealth are tied to it. To make his point that he's saying in his video or his response. Then we move on to the middle class, home ownership or other generally stable housing. So these folks either own a home or their housing is stable. Again, going back, the working class, housing sometimes unstable. They rent, but if they do own, the majority of the wealth is tied to owning a home. So now let's go back and finish listening to what he has to say.
Leads me to my next point. If you are rich, or if you want to be rich in the wealthy class, owning your own home is actually not smart at all. And see, the top 5% of income earners generally don't own their own home, which you're probably thinking, that makes no sense. Well, here's the thing. When you're a homeowner and your house appreciates 3% every year, 5% every year, which is average, that's pretty good because you're not making that anywhere else. But see, we rich people, we know how to make way more than 5%, 10%, 30% a year with our money. We take that money that we would have sunk in a house like this and we invest it in real estate. We put it in the stock market if we know what we're doing. We put it in crypto if we know what we're doing. I like real estate investing. And I'll tell you, when I flip houses, I literally make thousands of percent every year cash on cash return on my money. Thousands of percents. So it's way smarter for me not to sink my money in houses like my primary residence, but take that money and buy other assets with it and make so much more money. Also, if you live here in the US, it is even much more smarter because renting your own home in the US costs way less than owning a home. For example, this house in Naples right here, I own. It's 3 minutes from the beach. We live here for half the year, maybe more than that coming up, but this house cost me $9,800 USD to own it. It's mine. But see, I can rent another property just like this, literally a couple streets over, in a house just like this with the same finishings and it's all nice like this with the pool and the palm trees. I can rent this house for $5,500, $6,000 a month instead of $9,800. Now, the reason why I bought this is because it's mostly an investment. See, we rent this property out for half the year when we go back to Canada, and then we live here for the winters.
He said a lot there. You guys have to determine what class you're in. And Americans don't like to talk about this, but there's levels. You may have heard me say that or describe classes as levels in a lot of the videos, but that's what I mean. You have to determine what class you're in. Working class. It's like this when it comes to housing stability, because some of you all may be on the housing ladder, which simply means that you either bought a starter home, you've moved up, or second home, the dream home, or you're on the way back down the ladder if you're downsizing or something. That is just a marketing term, okay? But a majority of folks in the working class, from my daily experience from dealing with people that want to buy homes, I'm a loan officer, residential mortgage loan originator, NMLS license number 180100, 20 plus years. Are renting. You see here, in this case, the majority of assets and potential for wealth are tied to owning a home. And that's the point that I want to hit on. That, and he's making in his video, if you're getting that 3 to 5%, where does that 3 to 5% come from? Inflation. So a lot of you guys that are renting, especially younger folks, I'm going to start with millennials going down to the Gen Zers that are getting ready to buy. If you find yourself in the working class, you need to own a home sooner rather than later, because we all think we're on a level higher than what we really are. But this is where humility comes in, and this is where the numbers come in. You know that saying that the numbers don't lie. Look at your numbers. It'll tell you where you are, because there are levels. There are levels. Now, the good thing is, I believe here in where we live, regardless of what these platforms are trying to get you to believe, you're still in a place where you can change your level if you apply yourself and you get some breaks. But most of us are creatures of habit. This is why renting is not a good thing. And so as we move to the middle class, life experience, home ownership, or other generally stable housing. I'm going to lean on the side of home ownership. And then when we look at the income for the middle class here in a minute, some of you guys may be renting in a place where it's stable, meaning you don't have to keep moving. You don't have these cortisol spikes when the new lease comes out, because you have the ability to absorb those costs to where you can say, you know what? The landlord is going to take care of the maintenance and things of that nature. And the difference, not only do I have it, but I have the ability, as he is saying, to make more than 3 to 5%. A lot of you guys are fooling yourselves. You're not being honest, I'll say it that way, with yourselves, because you don't have that ability. You don't have that acumen to be able to convert your margin and get a lot more than 5% return consistently and not gamble. A lot of you guys are gambling. All these cover call options and a lot of stuff that I'm hearing people talk about that weren't talking about it prior to the pandemic or between 2010 and 2020 is because this is new things that have been parroted to you, and you're trying to play the lottery. And a lot of you guys are going to get burned. This is why I say buy a home, especially if you're in these classes and you don't have the money, the margin, the difference, the discipline, or the know-how to make more than 3 to 5%. I want to pause here and give you guys an opportunity to respond to that claim. If you don't believe what I'm saying, then put it down in the comment section. Just don't be emotional. A lot of you guys are emotional. You like to call names and things of that nature. That's immature. If I'm talking too much, why are you watching? You watch the whole video to tell me I'm talking too much. You want to be seen. I understand. Grifter. I've been called a grifter. If you guys watch the channel, you know that's not the case. Doesn't bother me. It's good for the algorithm. You're helping a brother out. I appreciate you, but I want you to learn, right? So if you don't agree, express yourself. Communication is going to be the key. You can't throw tantrums. You have to disagree respectfully and then state why. That's what helps the community. I just wanted to say that real quick before we move forward. I'm making the case, guys. I'm making the case why renting is not the best if you don't have those abilities. What abilities? I restate, then we move forward. If you don't have a cushion, margin, extra money left over every month, and then if you have that extra money left over every month, do you have the discipline not to consume it? Because a lot of people in the first 3 classes that are in the poor and working, that are in the working class or the middle class, from my experience, what you want to do as soon as you get some money is kick it. Aspirational purchases. That's why all of the brands, folks that can't really afford those things, They're wearing certain things. They're driving certain things, because what you're saying is, hey, I'm important too. I'm in that upper class, but you're not. You perpetrating a fraud and you're really hurting yourself.
Here's the deal. I make free videos for you. I actually know what I'm talking about. And if you implement, it will help you and or your family get onto the property ladder. The only thing I ask is that you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell.
If you do have the extra money, do you have the discipline to then take that money and make it return 6% or more consistently year over year? That's the difference between the wealthy. Now, I don't think the wealthy are people that are smarter than a lot of folks. That's a narrative that has been pushed. He's saying it as well. That's a bias that they have, because a lot of these folks, it just depends on what family you were born in and what you're exposed to in a lot of cases. Just because you are in a certain class doesn't mean that you stay there or that you're better, because you got people on the bottom moving on up like George and Wheezy. You got people at the top coming on down. Rob is not trying to make you feel some kind of way. We just looking at things logically so that you can determine where you are. So now let's move forward. Then we have what we call the managerial class in this study. Okay. And their experience, okay, is going to be based on owning one or multiple homes, travel, including internationally, housing, your stability, where you manage your most valuable asset, being yourself and or your family, is important. You don't get that with renting. I bring up that case a lot as far as renting is concerned. And a lot of the videos that I show you are people fussing one way or another about renting and going from pillar to post, pillar to post, pillar to post, and not putting down roots is costing you. You just don't realize it. And most don't realize it until you get to the older version of yourself. And then there's a whole nother stress cycle going on, because now it's like you're beating yourself up about what you didn't do and you're worried about what's coming. If you can take these videos and just take your emotions out of it and look at where you are to see what it is that you have to do. The good news is that I believe you can change your situation if you focus on what the problem is. Most of us are so distracted we can't focus on the problem. The managerial class, you see there's stability in housing and they get to move around internationally. And that is a nugget for another video, that a lot of us need to move around, because when you only look at your environment where you are, that becomes a detriment, because you can't see how blessed you are, number one. And then number two, you can't really challenge some of the things that you've been programmed to believe, because everything is not the truth. When you go to what they call the owning or the ruling class, where he said that he was, I don't disagree. He's coming out of Canada and he's in real estate. I'll say that he's in real estate. The house that he told you not to buy, he actually owns, because in the US, if you have the ability to make high returns, then it probably is better convenience wise to not own. But don't listen to what they say. You got to watch what they do. He owns and he could rent. That's what I would say there. And he's saying that he's in the upper class, the owning class, but they're identified by owning a luxury home or homes. He said he owns a big mansion in Canada, and then he owns that vacation home right there. So this would fit him, but he has enough income. He has enough income that comes from those assets that it gives him or those folks in that class the option to have a full-time job or not, opposed to the upper managerial class. They're dependent on salaries, not investments to pay bills. Middle class, depending on wages, salaries to pay bills. Often jobs with some benefits, some control over the hours and methods of work, and or control over other work. And then as we go down, it says occupations often involve physical labor, services, or care work for upper and middle class people, little control over pay, hours, or access to benefits. And then the bottom, underemployed, underpaid, sometimes long-term use of public benefits. So as we get ready to turn the corner on this, let's look at some dollar amounts for the classes that he gave. And you guys determine if he's accurate or if this research is accurate or not. You don't have to get in your feelings. We're just looking at numbers. I'm from this mindset. If it hurts your feelings, that means we in your neighborhood. And so don't get mad at the messenger. Look at your situation and listen to the information and the beauty of a platform like YouTube, because if you hear, you have the opportunity to change. The scripture says today, if you hear the word of the Lord, harden not your heart. Why? Because a living dog is better than a dead lion. Man, why y'all always talking like that? Because you need to be entertained. If we just came on here and gave you the truth, a lot of you guys would tune out. You would say, he's talking too much. That's an indicator of what class you're in this income thing. I digress. The poor, household income, $0 to $19,000. Do you agree or disagree? Working class, $19,000 to $40,000. Middle class, $40,000 to $149,000. Upper middle or managerial, $149,000 to $570K, pardon me. And then the ruling class, greater than $570K. As far as the wealth is concerned, the poor and the working really don't have any. Middle class, $557,000 to $11 million. My point, ladies and gentlemen, is this. For those of you that wish to own a home, then these are the things that you have to look at to determine where you are class-wise, because there's classes, there's levels to the game. If you can come to terms with that, you may be able to change your situation. I went out in the field and did a little drive-by, if you will, to show you the work, live, eat concept. And then I want you guys to get down in the comment section and tell me if that's not lockstep with the research that we see. Y'all check it out.
What you guys are looking at, in my opinion, is a trap. And it's set for people like a lot of you that are going to watch this video. These are very nice, brand new apartment units, 1 to 3 units, right? They're very nice and some might say reasonably priced, but it's a trap. And I say that because they make everything convenient. They hit all of the wants that most people would like in a home. There's an amenity center. They got little offices where you can go do some work. There's a gym on site, a pool, fire pits. Sounds lovely, right? Starting at $1,400 for 600 square feet, up to $2,400 for their larger units. This is why I say it's a trap. You got Chipotle here. Here's another restaurant, Cava, Panera Bread, Smoky Mo's, Jersey Mike's, Smoothie King, Dave's Hot Chicken. There's even a movie theater, the EVX, Advanced Viewing Experience. Everything you want is right here. That's what they want. They want it to be convenient for you so that you can work, live, and eat, and then get all your money right here. And so if that's what you want to do, cool, but you got to consider the cost, the opportunity cost, and the long-term cost of not owning your own, because it's not free. And after 2, 5, 10 years, yeah, you may have not had to deal with any maintenance, but if you've not invested your money, which the numbers show most of you aren't, that forced savings account effect that I talk about a lot on the channel does you no good. Ask someone older who played the same game that a lot of you guys are wanting to play. I don't want that responsibility. And now in their older self, when inflation does what it does and costs continue to rise like they always have, and now they're having to deal with paying more while making less, ask them how they like it. If you're ready to take the next step and achieve your goal of home ownership, I would love to have a conversation with you. Why? I'm a lender. My NMLS license number is 180100, and my contact information is pinned in the top comment and in the description of this video. My time is up, but I thank you for yours. As I always say, guys, let's be good to one another. Let us let grace abound. Watch these next 2 videos. They'll help you in your education as you prepare to become a homeowner. And for the rest of you, indeed, y'all stay blessed.